Hey, Doug Walker here, doing a fast review on a movie I sent a screener to. Thank you so much. I always appreciate it whenever people give me a screener or something. And it's from the people who did the Terrifier movies. And if you're not familiar with my thoughts on the Terrifier movies, I'm sure you've seen at least Art the Clown at Halloween stores and everything. I mean, that this character's just blown up. I really love them as someone who is not really into slasher films. Like, I see why they're popular and why people get into them, but they're just not my thing. Like, a slasher film has to do something really different in order for me to get into them. So I've really gotten into the Terrifier films because I feel like they really are doing something really fun and really creepy. I think Art the Clown is like, might be my favorite slasher killer of all time. Like, I really gotta think about it. I do like Candyman a lot, but I mean, but like Sleepaway Camp, stuff like that. Like those movies that do something really odd and different. Those are the ones I like. So anything this crew does, I'm gonna be interested in. And this film that they just is called Stream, and it's not from the director of Terrifier. It's from one of the producers of Terrifier. But the director does work on the film. He does the gore effects, and a lot of the same people are on there. Like the director is Michael Leavy, who is also in some of the Terrifier movies. What's his name? Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown. He's in there, and you can spot him literally a mile away. The first time you see him, he's about a mile away, and just from his movements, you can tell it's him. That's really, really funny. And even a lot of people never show their face in the movie, and you still know who they are if you're familiar with horror films and slasher films and stuff. And these people seem to be into the same ones that I'm into, because there are a lot of cameos in here that call back to a lot of the slasher films I get into, like Sleepaway Camp, like Candyman. There's a cameo in the mid-credit sequence I don't want to give away, but stay for the mid-credit sequence, because you'll see it, and you'll say, because the person doesn't show his face, but you'll be like, is that who I think it is? And it is. So almost on that alone, I'm like, I feel like I gotta recommend this movie. But I also have to be very honest about my opinions on this film. For me, it is really a mixed bag. It's one of those movies where I'm not gonna lie, as I was watching it, I was saying, oh no, am I not gonna like this film? Am I not gonna give it a good recommendation here? But as it keeps going, it gets better, and it does get more and more interesting, and it's very easy to point out, for me anyway, what works and what doesn't about it. And the main setup is that there's a family, I forget what it is, I think they're looking to get away or something like that, so they're going to a hotel, and there's just something off about this hotel. I mean, they show very early on something bad happens in there, and just the people are acting a little odd. It seems like they're setting up for something strange, and obviously, as you would assume, some people start dying in the hotel in these violent, terrible ways, and they're being done by people in masks. And without going too much into spoilers, clearly it has something to do with streaming. So that's all I'll say, because I feel like there are a couple good twists and turns in here. As it keeps going, it does throw in one or two surprises. Some are a little obvious, but others I was like, okay, that's actually kind of cool. And my big issue with the movie watching it, and this is where I don't know if slasher film fans are just going to be like, that's fine, or if they're going to have an issue with it too, is the main characters are really, really boring. And of course, as slasher films go, that's almost the idea. The main characters are just there to be killed off. In my opinion, I think you want main characters that are still interesting and fun to watch. But that doesn't always mean they're likable. You can have main characters that are very unlikable, and they're definitely a lot of fun. But these characters just don't even get that out of me. And I don't think it's the performances. A lot of these actors are totally fine. Well, there's this one boy that this girl has a crush on, and he's doing I think it's a French accent. I'm not sure, but even that I would really have fun with, because that's part of the fun. Again, these are kind of supposed to be like 80s throwbacks to slasher movies, but the writing for the characters is just, I was gonna say generic, but it's not even generic, it's forgettable. I don't think I can quote a line from any of the main characters, and I remember what they look like, I remember how many there are, but man, have me say one personality trait about any of them, and I just couldn't do it. And in a film like this, you're really with them for a long time before things get going. And even after things do get going, again, they're going to spread it out. They want to build up suspense and everything. And you are just stuck with these people who just leave, for me, no impact whatsoever. If they were just side characters, okay, but they're the main characters. And they just did nothing for me. So like I said, I really thought, oh no, maybe I'm not going to get into this movie. But as it keeps going, particularly with the guy who's running the hotel, he was the first performance. Outside of the opening, I think, was it Dee Wallace in the opening? I think it was Dee Wallace. It is in the opening. Again, like they have a lot of good cameos in here. You know, she kind of got my attention, but it really wasn't until the guy who owns the hotel or is running the hotel pops up that I started to really have fun, because he's, I don't know, I feel, oh, what's his name? Dan Nicole, is that his name from 9 to 5? I'm blanking on his name, but I feel like if that was made now, if this was made now, he would play this role. He has that vibe, like a really over-the-top version of that actor, and he is just having a lot of fun with this. And as soon as he enters the picture, it starts to get a little better, and then the killers come in, and the killers, again, you don't see their faces, but they wear these fun masks. It's all very much, you know, just how they move and how they react. Again, the fun ways they kill people in this. Like I said, the gore effects are done by the guy who directed the original Terrifier film, so they're done very well, very creative. There's a death involving an arcade game cabinet in this, so they get really creative. And as it keeps going, they keep kind of adding some new elements to it, like, for example, I know this seems subtle, but in the hotel itself, the hotel's a pretty standard-looking hotel, but they do stuff that I've seen people get killed in hotels, obviously, in horror films, but just little things I never thought about before, like they lock the doors in the hotel, which just sounds so obvious, but I'm trying to think of a movie where that's happened. I've seen movies where the phones don't work, or the hotel's in the middle of nowhere, or they're snowed in, like The Shining or something. But I've never seen one where they just can't even get out of the hotel itself. I thought that was pretty creepy. I'm not saying this was the first one to do it, but, you know, that little element went a long way. They changed the light bulbs in the hotel, so some of the hallways are red, some of them are green, some go back and forth between the colors, some keep alternating throughout the whole thing. And again, what you wouldn't think would be a big thing, but that does kind of add to the crazy atmosphere of what's going on. And it is, for a film that's supposed to be a callback to classic 80s slasher films, there is that element of, you know, graininess that you see like in the Terrifier movies, and this one's not really grainy, and I was surprisingly okay with it because it was so clear, and the colors with the bulbs and everything looked good, and the shadows were kind of fun, so I didn't mind too much that there were things that weren't 100% reminiscent of those movies, because they replaced it with something else that looked good and gave it enough of a unique style. And with the streaming element that keeps going on, it's one of those things where I see this as a good, like, this is a good first movie, or should I say, it's a passable enough first movie in something that could be a franchise if it just tweak a few things. And for me, the main thing is the main characters. I would say the pacing, definitely too. Maybe if the characters were more interesting, I wouldn't mind that the pacing, you know, felt so slow. But as I said, as it keeps going and we get more and more of these, you know, of these crazy killers, and find out more and more what's going on and how much control of the hotel do they have, who's in on it, who's not, it does get more enjoyable. And by the time I reached the end, I did say to myself, okay, am I glad I saw this? Am I glad I took the time to sit down and watch this? I was saying for the kills and the inventiveness of the idea, yes, because I feel like this is not a movie I'm just going to forget. It is going to be one that sticks with me in terms of, you know, how it looks, the ideas that they're kind of playing around with, what you can do with this idea. I mean, you know, slasher films are always building up. There's going to be another one. And they have some fun, cool hints about what they might do in the next one. And I would advise, if you're going to see this movie, you know, there are a lot of slasher film cameos in here. Don't look them up. The reason I say that is because about halfway through, I think there was somebody, I'm like, who is that person? I looked them up. I was like, oh, it's that person. And I saw these other cameos thinking, oh man, they're going to do a whole bunch of crazy stuff. And they really don't. They're more just little winks and little, hey, here's a cool little moment with this person, and then we're off, you know, to something else. Or a lot of them are actually even saved till the end. So don't look them up, because I think you might get the wrong idea of what they're gonna be doing. You think they might play a bigger part than they are. It's just kind of cool that they're in this movie at all, that, oh wow, here's a movie that has all these, you know, people that you don't usually see together in a horror film. And it is a little bit of a wink to classic 80s slashers, but it's also trying to be its own thing too. So I'm very much middle of the road on it. Like, man, I don't know where I can go on it, but I think I'm recommending it because I do think there's an audience for it, but it does depend on what you're looking for. If you're looking for something that's really gonna do something new, like, man, you just, like the Terrifier movies, you haven't seen this before in a slasher film before, it's not that. But there are definitely, nods to definitely the style of the Terrifier movies in there without necessarily being the Terrifier movies, which I want. If I want to see Terrifier, I just go see Terrifier. But if I want something that has a little bit of that style, this isn't that bad, though I think you probably know going in it's not going to be as good. I doubt they have the budget to be as good as, the Terrifier movies. I mean, I know the first one didn't have like a great big budget, but, they're slowly getting more and more money. I think they're not going to be quite as good as that is, but there is a fun idea in there. And I think if you're looking for something, like I said, it's going to try something totally new, it's not that, but if you are a sucker for some of these tropes and, you can get through the boring family, the boring leads, just to get to these fun deaths, which, like I said, I mean, they are inventive, and even some of the acting from the performers whose faces you don't see, the killers in this, who are having a fun time, and the guy running the hotel, I think you'll like it just enough. And again, if for any other reason, just to kind of see these cameos in this movie that you're like, whoa, I never thought I would see these people in this movie. Some of these people I didn't even think I would see in a movie again, honestly, so it's really cool to see them. But like I said, do wait till the mid-credit sequence, because I was about to stop, and then I was like, again, I was looking through the credits, I'm like, wait, but this person's in here, where? And I fast forward and I saw the mid-credit sequence, and it's not like a minute after a couple credits. Like, it really is halfway through, so you gotta wait for it. But I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, again, I hope that kind of helps out in terms of whether or not this is a movie you want to check out. It is, in fact, streaming right now, so you can check it out. It does seem like there's an audience out there. I've definitely seen people that have recommended it, but I've definitely seen people who haven't liked it either. And again, I'm not surprised by either. Like, I'm really, really in the middle, but I will admit it's a series where if they keep going with it, I wouldn't mind seeing the angle they take. I wouldn't mind seeing, like, are they gonna, like, what other location can they do this? What can they do this on a cruise ship, in the middle of the water? That might be kind of fun, or someplace, I don't know, middle of the woods or the desert. I don't know, like something to take it to a new level, and then also add more into how this world works. Like, I can see this being like a lesser John Wick in a way, like, how that had a very simple premise, but as the movies kept going, the world got bigger and crazier. I can see that happening with this. But yes, man, they really need to work on those main characters. Just the writing. You need to write some more interesting dialogue for these people, or personality traits or something. Like I said, that was a real big problem for me, but for me, it does balance out. I don't know if it's going to for everyone, but I do think there's an audience here. And like I said, you can stream it right now. You can check it out for yourself. Thank you so much. If you've seen this movie, let me know what you think. Did you think the whole thing was great and that I'm just reading too much into the main characters? You're not supposed to look that much at the main characters in a slasher film. Or do you think it was terrible? It wasn't at all what you were expecting? You want so much more out of it? Or do you think it's somewhere in the middle like I am, where you think, yeah, you know what, this had some problems, but I really enjoyed it, like the creativity in it, and had a good time? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Take care.